Hello and welcome back to another video. Today's Wednesday, so this is Waffle on a Wednesday, where I answer your questions to the best of my ability. Now, Anorexic Ribbon asks, hey Mel, quick question, where has your intro gone? Well, Anorexic Ribbon, this is just for you. Hello and welcome back. Now, the reason I don't use that intro anymore in my most recent videos is because the YouTube algorithm is telling me that most people, as soon as they see that intro, they click off my videos. So I stopped using it. But what do you think? Do you like my little walk around video and a little bit of fun music? Should I reintroduce that intro back into my videos? Let me know what you think. Comments down below, really appreciate your feedback. Right, let's get on with this week's Waffle on a Wednesday. Now, Steve M asks, one question, is your 2 kilowatt heater enough for your van, and is it noisier than the 5 kilowatt heater? Well Steve, the 2 kilowatt heater is no noisier than the 5 kilowatt heater, but I'll be totally honest with you, I've now removed my 2 kilowatt heater because it stopped working. I couldn't get the 2 kilowatt heater to start working properly once it ran out of diesel. And something else I discovered, the 2 kilowatt heater doesn't actually come with a priming function, so you can't actually prime the fuel line. The only way I could get it to prime was to switch it on, wait for the pump to time out, disconnect the power and then reconnect it, and it was a real pain in the arse. That is something I didn't realise, because when I fitted my 2 kilowatt heater I was swapping it out for my 5 kilowatt heater, so my fuel lines already had diesel in them, so I didn't need to prime it. I just simply switched it on, hey presto, away we go. It wasn't until I ran out of fuel that I realised that the 2 kilowatt heater doesn't actually have a prime function. Well, not one that I could find anyway. If anyone out there knows how you can prime a 2 kilowatt heater, then please do get in touch. Anyway, I've now removed my 2 kilowatt heater because in the end it packed up working altogether. I'm still investigating why it packed up, and I'm still playing with it to try and figure it out before I make a video all about it. But for now, I would say don't buy a 2 kilowatt heater, stick to the 5 kilowatt heater. So far my 5 kilowatt heater, and I've put it to the test multiple times, my 5 kilowatt heater has been absolutely trouble free. Although I do have this older control unit, I don't have the digital control unit, and this is simply turn on, turn up and down, and I've not even bothered setting a time on it. The 2 kilowatt heater has got a different plug to this, so you can't swap these over. Let me just show you what I mean. So all the diesel heaters I've fitted in the past have had this triangular shaped plug, but the 2 kilowatt heater that I brought had a completely different plug, so they weren't interchangeable, whereas the 5 kilowatt ones are. They all come with this triangular shaped plug with 3 pins in it. So that's just something to bear in mind, but like I say, I'm going to try and make a video all about that. I'm just investigating the 2 kilowatt heater. I'm going to take it apart and have a look, see if I can figure out why it packed up and why it stopped working. But for now, I would say definitely give the 2 kilowatt heater a wired berth and stick to the 5 kilowatt heater. Although saying that, Mevi, a fellow YouTuber, got in touch with me and asked me for the measurements of the 2 kilowatt heater because he wanted to know if it'd fit under his front seat. And as far as I'm aware, he's really happy with it so far. So go check out Mevi's channel. I'll put a link down in the description of this video, and maybe ask him how he is getting on with his 2 kilowatt heater. But me, I've not had much luck with mine. I did get in touch with Max Speeding Rods to ask them if they had any ideas why it wouldn't work, and unfortunately they've not got back to me just yet. But I'll give them a little while, give them time to respond before I say anything about that. But do go check out Mevi's channel. He does live full time in his camper van. He works full time and he does an awful lot for charity, so go give him some love, check him out. I'll put a link in the description of this video. Right, next question. Now, I had quite a few comments about my light cluster video, and some people seem to think that by putting that sheet of polythene over the top of the light cluster that it's going to create condensation within the light cluster itself. But that is not the case, because the light cluster is made out of plastic, the polythene is plastic, and it doesn't touch the outside of the van. Condensation will only condensate on cold surfaces like glass or uninsulated metal, because the metal is colder than the air inside the van. Therefore, any moisture in the air is attracted to that cold surface and it's going to condensate. Whereas the light cluster, because the light cluster is in effect hanging mid-air and it's made of plastic, that light cluster is going to be the same temperature as the air around it, so therefore no condensation will actually accumulate on those plastic parts or the polythene going over the top of it. The condensation comes from the metal roof above it, because the metal roof underneath my headlining isn't sufficiently insulated, so that's why I got condensation dripping down on top of my light cluster. The condensation didn't come from inside the light cluster. I hope that makes sense and I hope that clears that up. Right, now talking about my light cluster, someone actually left a really good comment on that video not concerning the light cluster, so I'd like to read that out next. And this comes from Anne Headley. Mel, this is a question unrelated to the light cluster protection video, but are you able to suggest the type of battery charger I should look for to use when on 240 hookup that would work alongside the Ring DC to DC 12 volt charger? I'd want to use the 12 volt equipment while the 240 volt charger was working. I've got two 105 AGM leisure batteries. I hope that makes sense. Thank you. Yes, Anne, that makes perfect sense, and I hope I made sense reading it out. Now, Anne, when I'm hooked up on 240 volt, as I am right now, and when my batteries are low, I use this charger alongside my Ring DC to DC charger, so I know it works fine, and that is this NOCO Genius charger. Unfortunately, these are no longer available. This is an out-of-date model. They have produced a newer model, which is a NOCO Genius 10. They do, I think, a 2 amp, a 5 amp and a 10 amp, and this one is a 7.2 amp. So this is the older model, but they are absolutely fantastic. These will charge normal lead acid batteries, AGM batteries and even lithium batteries. Nice bit of kit, really cheap way to do it. You can buy a lot dearer ones. I know Victron do like a huge box which is like a consumer unit for electric hookup, but this is a fraction of the price. I think they're about 120 quid for the Genius 10, and I leave mine plugged in all the time I'm parked on Bob's driveway. As you can see, there's nothing actually on the end of this because I've wired the other end of this onto my leisure batteries, and I've also got another connector going onto my engine battery, so if my engine battery ever goes flat I can simply just plug this in and it charges my engine battery, and I don't have to lift the bonnet or take the lid off of my engine battery compartment. And then when my engine battery's charged, I simply unplug this and plug it back into my AGM batteries, and this just simply lives underneath there. And let me just show you all the different functions it's got on it. I don't quite know how they work, but by some kind of voodoo magic they can actually bring back old lead acid batteries to life. If you've got an old lead acid battery and it's damaged from overcharging or undercharging, then apparently this can repair it. So yeah, good bit of kit, around about 120 quid. I'll leave a link in the description just for you. Thanks for the great question. Now, whilst on the subject of the interior light, Mike's Mobile Home has come up with a really good solution, and I might even try this next time I build a camper van out. He says, I took the roof lining out and sprayed foamed the whole roof, cab only, just a single layer, about 25mm. Once dried, all over, no condensation and better thermal barrier. I then filled the voids with recycled plastic bottle insulation, no problem after 2 years. So that's, yeah, I might even try this next time, just doing the cab, because the cab roof, because of the way it curves and all the different shapes, it is really hard to insulate. So yeah, just spray a layer of expanding foam. Sounds like a great idea. He also goes on to continue, expanding foam won't stick to black plastic bin bags, so cover everything with them. If the foam gets on them, let it go hard and then it just comes off. It's a lot easier to remove and no mess. Well, thanks to Mike's Mobile Home for that great tip. Really good idea, and I will definitely be trying that in the next van build that I do. But like Mike says, only the cab. Just spray the expanding foam above the cab. don't do the whole roof. I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, great idea. Thank you, Mike. Hi, Mel. I've been thinking of buying one of these. How is yours holding up since you have had it for a while now? And that comes from another brick in the wall. And he's talking about my knockoff Laguna table leg, my swing out table leg. And I've got to say, it's working perfectly fine. No problems at all. So yeah, save yourself a couple of quid. Buy the knockoff Laguna table leg rather than the original one. It works. So what's wrong with that? Thanks for reminding me to update everyone. Hi Mel, a quick question. We like a quick question. How did you manage to make sure that your doors are 2 times cladding? Thanks. That comes from Mr. Warbird. Well, it's quite simple really. To make sure my cupboard doors fitted my cupboard, I actually made the doors first. So I put 2 pieces of cladding together, made the doors, and then I made the frame to fit the doors. Kind of did it in reverse. Yeah, I should have made that more clear in the video, so sorry about that, and thanks for the great question. Now this comes from Ian Lowham. My Sprinter is big enough for a lathe, a mill and a pillar drill, which enables me to build model steam engines, which is my hobby. I also have a bed, a TV, a sink, so I can relax when I'm not. A Sprinter is like a TARDIS. Cheers Mel. Well cheers Ian. Ian, I've got to say, I would love to see your Sprinter with all that stuff in it. Right, now talking about the size of Sprinters, that leads me on to the next question. Now it really amuses me when somebody else tries to answer a question for me. Well, not amuses me, it entertains me, I think that's a better word. And this is a classic example of somebody trying to answer a question on my behalf. And I do appreciate it, you know, I appreciate your efforts. I'm not having a go, I'm not knocking anyone, but this is a classic example. And this comes from Adam, well, the original question is from Adam Shaw. And he does ask a really good question. Hi Mel, love your videos. Well, thank you Adam. Just a quick question. We love a quick question. Is there a reason you had a medium wheelbase length against a long wheelbase? Just wondered why you didn't have a long wheelbase so you have more room. Cheers. Now David New answers that question for me. Thank you David. It's more for parking I'd say, because a long wheelbase takes up a lot more room than a medium wheelbase. This is true, but it's not the reason I brought a medium wheelbase Sprinter. Adam goes on to say, you've inspired me to go for a van life. I'm going to be doing a conversion this year. You never know, I may start up my own channel. Thanks so much, keep up the good work. Well, thank you Adam. And to answer your question, I was actually looking for a long wheelbase, but my priority was air conditioning, so that's why I brought this medium wheelbase and settled for a shorter van with aircon rather than a longer van without aircon. Now one thing you really must bear in mind, and I can't emphasise this enough, when you're looking for a van to convert into a camper van, is to bear in mind your maximum gross weight. Check your driving licence and have a look to see what your maximum gross weight your driving licence will allow you to drive, because you may find you are only allowed to drive up to 3.5 tonne. So whether it be a long wheelbase or a medium wheelbase, you're still restricted on what you can put inside your van by the weight of what you're putting in your van. And if you've got a long wheelbase van, pretty much you can put less weight in it because the van itself weighs a lot more, whereas a medium wheelbase van weighs a little bit less, so therefore you can actually get more in it although you've got less room. I hope that makes sense and I hope that helps. Good luck with your van build, and yeah, start a YouTube channel. I highly recommend it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Hi Mel, just wondering, what would you call a good toolkit to keep in your van, plus spares? Did your toolkit ever get you out of any trouble in the past? Thanks from Croydon. PS, great video. Well, that comes from Mark Burgess. Thank you Mark, fantastic question, and yes, I do carry a small toolkit and it has most definitely saved my bacon on more than one occasion. But I will say the most important thing you can have in your arsenal to guard against breaking down in your van is breakdown recovery insurance, i.e. the AA, RAC, Green Flag, to name but a few. Make sure you've got breakdown recovery regardless of the age of your vehicle. Now, talking about the toolkit and what I recommend to carry and what spares I recommend to carry, I think that deserves a whole video on its own. So give me a couple of days to think about it and I'll make a video all about what tools I carry in my van and what spares I recommend you to carry regardless of what type of van you got. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, and if you like this video do give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching, ta-ra for now.